Hello, hello. Welcome for another episode of the Author Spotlight. Hey, it's your host with the most, your main man, Darren and Palmer. So excited to be with you. I get the honor and the privilege to be able to go behind the scenes with best-selling authors from across the globe. Today we have on Lenina Mortimer, and I want to share a little bit about her before she comes on in her own way. Lenina is a best-selling author and award-winning video producer who teaches healthy women how to overcome breakups. She wrote, I Ain't Thinking About You, the 8-step guide to finally letting him go using the breakup funeral method. I love that. She developed the breakup funeral after having been ghosted. Uh-oh, the method helps women find closure, get insight as to why you can't get over your ex and why you keep dating the wrong men. As a Haitian-American woman dating in New York City with a background in psychology and neuroscience, journalism, and communications, Lenina has developed the skills to coach ambitious women, helping them to understand their power in dating and in life. Lenina has a master's of arts in clinical psychology and education with a concentration in spirituality, mind body practice, and positive psychology from Columbia University. Miss Lenina, welcome to the Author Spotlight. Glad to have you on.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for
Awesome,
having me.
awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. So just share with us. I want to get right into it. It's too juicy. Spill the tea, girl. Let us know why this book is your first book.
Well, this book was really a culmination of events. It's one part my master's thesis at Columbia, and I had to come up with a project, something to go deep into and research in order to graduate. And what had been going on in my life at the time was I was going through a breakup, and I was having trouble moving past it. And so I started doing all this research about forgiveness, acceptance, why do breakups hurt so bad, all this stuff, and I just started pouring through like the white papers, and I developed a methodology in which that helped me find closure. And at the end of my studies, and after bumping into the guy who ghosted 1 year later, I realized I'm like, oh man, this stuff really works, and I want to share it with everyone.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Lenina. And for those who are tuned in or whatnot, this is why we have the Author Spotlight, because the transparency that Lenina is sharing here right now, I know some of us, all of us, can identify with it in some form or fashion or whatnot in our own lives or whatnot. So this is just not the lady that you see that's the best-selling author. This is not just someone that you see just empowering and helping women across the globe. This is someone that you see that, hey, I can get on your level because I am you, but I'm going to give you some tangible steps how to get out of the hole that you're in and move forward and not make the same mistakes, creating new habits. And speaking of that, let's just look at what the book, of course, we know why you created the book, but let's talk about the mental fortitude that you had to create the book. What made you could believe that you could write a book when so many had failed at the task?
Ooh, okay. Failure wasn't an option. For one, I was working with a coach who was like, well, your deadline is June 15th, and either way, you're going to have to do it. And so the book was already written even before I wrote it because I had a due date. So that's one. And I had someone holding my feet to the fire. So that's two. And the third was truly and really, this book was like inspired by the divine. And so it was like, I was told I have to write this book, and I was just like, okay, so I got to do it. And so it was more like it was an internal guidance and an external coach support and a deadline making it urgent and timely.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much. Now that's real right there. Now, some of you out there, the importance of you're trying to be lonesome dove, old school way of looking at a Western or whatnot, but you want to be all by yourself in the approach to get your book done. So as we learned from Lenina here, it's important to have that wise counsel, to have the accountability there, to get outside of your own self and realize, hey, you know what? It's good that I got a date. It's good that I have a deadline, because if I have a deadline, it's going to allow for me to move and do things differently compared to, I heard just a gentleman talking about this the other day on the podcast, of asking him, how was the book going? Oh, it's good. Well, good could mean, a ton of things as far as good, but being more specific, actually what page are you on or whatnot, or what's your word count, or how many chapters, or do you have an outline completed? Those are the things that you need. And if you're in your feelings, hey, it's all right. But the thing is, when you get the finished product, it's going to be well worth it. And, and speaking of well worth it and having a deadline, to get that accomplished, okay, we know June was the deadline, but what did you do with your busy schedule to create the content? Was it getting up early? Was it blocked off timing? Was it just recording it? Share a little bit with the audience of how you created your content to be able to hit that deadline.
Okay, so the way I worked with my coach, it was really an 8 to 9 week process. And so the bulk of the time was spent figuring out what was the problem that I would solve for my reader, and getting very clear on that. So I got to say, I spent like maybe 5 weeks on that. And the actual writing of my book and the manuscript, I'm a procrastinator, so really I did it in like 5 days. Ideally, if I could do it again, I wouldn't do it that way. But I sat down and just started, I crunched it out. And the key for me was not worrying about how it looked in this first draft, because the first draft is supposed to be crappy, truly and really. But I just had to get the words out on the page. And so I would say really it was about 5 days. Yeah.
See, I love this, because Lenina, people hear me saying it, but it's easy for you to say, Darren, you're the chief book officer, you've written all these books, you have these people. If you get the outline, if you get clarity on the problem that you're solving, the words that you just uttered, the things that you just said so eloquently, that's the key to the whole process. But most people, because it's not sexy, it's not you at the book lunch. It's not what your hair and nails did, so to speak. It's not you looking all dapper and and having a nice blazer on and everybody cheering for you and throwing rice and blowing stuff up on social media. That part is the ugly phase that no matter how many degrees you can have, more degrees than a thermometer. I've found some brilliant people that when you tell them that step right there, Miss Lenina, that they fall off the bandwagon. It must be something else. And at the end of the day, months later, they still have no book and no results. And you were able to knock it out in 5 days. Now, we're not saying that you need to do it in 5 days, but by having clarity, by sharpening that axe, you're going to be able to knock the tree down quicker, instead of you having a dull axe or whatnot. So those of you out there who think that the method is just to write because someone told you that bad information, just to write, just to be writing, it doesn't do you any good. That's why so many people, I find them that they have hard drives full of content. They got, spiral notebooks all over their house or whatnot, that they just been journaling stuff, but they still have no book. The reason is because they don't have the system and the method of what this outline is. It's okay that I'm not going to put everything in. And lastly, I got to bring this up because my girl was just dropping value bombs and nuggets on us with, it's going to look crappy at first. That's okay. It's not going to print with the first draft. But so many people hinder themselves from even getting the first draft done because they throw it away. They won't even share it with anybody because they let pride get in the way. How dare I share this with someone that is not perfect yet? Or they think that they're Michelle Obama or J.K. Rowling, and it's the wrong mindset. And speaking of that, with the book being done and you accomplishing all the things that you were able to get done, please share with us too as well. What has been the experience knowing that, wow, I got the book done, and share with us what it meant to you, and also what has been the response from those that you've been able to share your techniques with and has been beneficial for their lives?
Well, since writing the book, it's more like that I realized that was one of my favorite parts, and I didn't even know it. But I enjoyed the process of the research. I enjoyed the process of writing. And once it was over and it was published, I was like a little bit sad about it, because I was just like, this is my baby, it's my child, and I felt good being able to accomplish that. And when I hear the feedback and when people leave reviews of the book, and they're like, wow, this really helped me to change a perspective I had about my breakup and what was going on with me, that warms my heart. And it's also an encouragement for me to keep going, because clearly what I'm doing is making an impact.
And just think about it, for everyone who's tuned in. You know it. We've been there before ourselves. We got family, friends, and loved ones who are in toxic relationships, or the names change, but the game remained the same, that someone ended up in a relationship and you seeing the same activities from the last relationship. You left Charles, but then at the same time, Devin is doing the same thing that Charles used to do. And it's just that cycle, that vicious cycle that's going all over. Oh, let me switch it up now, because I want to be, fair and balanced. You're dealing with Chelsea, and then you get with Carissa, and it's the same thing going on, or Shawanda, whoever it is, I want to make sure I'm fair and balanced over here, but at the same time, whatever the situation or whatever the name is, the game is remaining the same. If you're finding yourself in these toxic relationships, if your tires are steady getting cut, your window shields are being busted out, or you fight and having turf wars online on Facebook, it might not be ideal or healthy for you. So definitely check out Miss Lenina's book or whatnot, because it can get you there. And I want to go a little bit deeper, just because it's such an interesting subject, and we definitely want to give the information, and it'll be in the show notes on how they can get the book. But just give us a few tips. And I know you can tell that you're a type of person that you have a sense of awareness. So let's just look at that. What, for those who are just on automatic with their subconscious mind, what can they do to realize that they actually have an issue or it's toxic? So I think the power of awareness is important to understand for those who are listening as well, to be able to move forward and take the steps. So what would you think of would be a guide for someone to realize that they are just using their creatures of habit, and they have, they're using their subconscious mind the wrong way? Is it any way that you can share something that can disrupt or make them realize to be more intentional, that you could share on here that's a tip from your book?
Well, I was speaking to someone who was really interested in my work, and she was telling me that, I'm not going through a breakup. I broke up with the last person I was dating with, 5 years ago, but I'm not dating. And anytime I do sit across from some guy on a date, I just compare them to my ex, and no one ever measures up. And I'm just like, well, honey, I hate to break it to you, but you're going through a breakup. It's just taking 5 years to get over it and move through it and overcome it. And so I will say that look for places where, I hate giving generic advice, because it depends on the person. Generally, look for places where you're like, okay, well, I guess this is just it. God doesn't want me to be in a relationship. I'm supposed to be single. No one ever measures up. This person ruined me for everyone else. Look for things like that. And I will say that sometimes there are friends who will be like, from an outside perspective, who say, well, oh, that's really interesting. That you say that you want to be in a relationship, and yet you're not doing the things to move to that goal and get that result. And so, and I will say, just like, look for little things like that. It's going to be subtle, because your life is going to be going okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to work. You're going to go to work, your job, your 9 to 5. you're going to eat well, you're going to be able to buy things that you want, you'll be able to get the iPhone 11, whatever, and you're going to be okay. So you really won't see that, oh, well, there might be something a little off here, that what I truly deeply want has been buried deep, and I don't even have access to that information anymore. So it's gonna require some investigation, some internal investigation. It's one of the things that I talk about in my book, like looking and discovering the hidden lessons, and doing that self-interrogation. It's gonna require sitting with yourself and like meeting yourself, and sometimes you just need someone to help you do that.
Yeah, and you know what I think about that, because just like the young lady, and I know some people are listening to this and like, are you serious? It took her 5 years to realize that she was going through a breakup. She's just not over it. I'm telling you, it's amazing what the mind can do. And just like what you brought up, Lenina, about the issue, I had a friend of mine that it really didn't dawn on him. For years, he was saying that he wanted to be married, but his life only consisted of working. And he was successful, and he got businesses and all that, what world success, but he was saying he wanted to be married, but his time was basically spent in the strip clubs. So it was kind of, he was wondering what wasn't adding up until we had like a meeting or some time. It was some other like, man, you saying that you want this, but it seemed like it would be obvious, but it was such a habit that he was thinking he was perfectly fine. I mean, his businesses was going, he just felt like, oh, this was just entertainment. He was having relationships as far as thinking that, him going to the spots would be, but, I'm just sharing with those, I know people firsthand that you would think it's obvious, but it didn't dawn on this guy, and he's a smart guy, but it didn't dawn on him like, man, you're probably not going to be married if you the only relationship with women that you're having, which, was his preference, was if it's at the strip club. If you're not actually going on a date or meeting someone or getting to know who they are. So how far-fetched that might seem to you, and this is like I say, he's a great guy to this day. I got nothing but love for him, but it never dawned on him that that's the reason why he's about, 45, close to 50 or whatnot. He really wasn't married, because this is what he's been doing all these years.
And then what happened? Did he stop going to the strip club?
Well, that's still a work in progress, but it's still a work in progress. That's it. I'll be real with you. That's still a work in progress. But he at least was aware. But he has to. I do have to say this to give him. He has taken strides compared to where he used to be to get there. But you got to think about it. This is a habit that has been for so long, but he did dawn on him. He's like, you know what, y'all do have a point. But like you said, it was some deep rooted stuff as well in there, as far as growing up, parent situation, not want to be like his dad and stuff like that. So that's why I was bringing up the awareness piece, because it's some things that's guiding and directing us that has happened years ago or in a past relationship, just like you was talking about. I'm just adding to what you were sharing, that we thought we got over, but really it was a relationship that you had with someone. Now, at least this is business-like, because you have control over business. So in this other type of relationship, you were hurt and you're still going through that breakup, what you said earlier. So really the root issue was him having a breakup with, like a regular woman. And now he's went to the other situation and looked at it. Well, at least it's controlled in this environment. I know what I'm doing here. I don't have to get attached. But that was hindering him without him even knowing it, and he built a habit of it. So we definitely want them to get the book. If you don't mind, share with the audience, how can they get the book, and please share with them how they can connect with you on any social media, website information, whatever you have.
First of all, Darren, you must moonlight as a dating coach, because you were dropping a lot of insight on your friend. He owes you. You should invoice him. bill him whatever you need to do. And if he's not listening, it's probably because you didn't charge him enough. But what was that?
I said, I'm taking your advice on sending the invoice. I'm taking your advice on sending the invoice to him.
Right. So, but outside of that, you can, your audience can find me on ain'tthinkingaboutyobook.com. And, you know, I'd really like to extend, I enjoy offering my book to people. And so, like, if they come over to the website, I'll show them how to get the book for free, and they can glean the insights themselves.
That's amazing. That's amazing. But I want y'all to go buy the book because it's that good, you know. So
Okay. And you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah, definitely. I want you to go do it because it's just something about, you know, investing in yourself. Now, I mean, if you don't have the means, definitely want you to go get it. But for those of you, you know who you are. This is just, you know, being accountable, making an investment. If someone has put the time and effort and energy into putting something out that's wonderful, that's going to be life-changing for you, you can at least, you know, show your appreciation and not just burp and get up from the table, but leave a tip showing your appreciation. So we definitely want to do that for Miss Lenina because this interview alone was for free. So she gave up her time to be able to be here and share her expert opinion. So we definitely want to show our respect and love by purchasing the book. Now, did you give any social media handles? Or are you on IG anywhere or Facebook, anything like that?
Absolutely. I'm on Instagram at my first and last name, at Lenina Mortimer. And I can be found on all social media at Lenina Mortimer.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I thank you so much for coming on. And just one last thing before we get out of here. I want you to speak to that young lady out there who's thinking to herself, you know, it makes sense for, you know, Lenina to do a book. You know, she graduated from Columbia. She's doing this. It makes sense. She's, you know, she has it going on. She's beautiful inside and out. She has a message. I have a message, but I'm not Michelle Obama. I'm not Lenina or whatnot. I don't have the education, or I'm working a lot. I don't think my life is interesting. Could you share with that person of the importance of why they still should share their story with the world, even though it's others who have books as well?
Okay. So when I think about when people are like, well, so many other people are writing books about relationships, so many people are writing books about business and entrepreneurship. And I say that, well, I mean, if Adidas had that same mentality, there would be there would be no Adidas, there would be no Nike, there would be no Reebok. So I say, like, so what? Secondly, when I say to, yes, I have a lot of accomplishments and I'm highly decorated because I like school. However, that is not everyone's path. Everyone's life does not look like that. However, when people come to me with a problem, they don't care that I went to have this accomplishment, I won this award, and I do all these things. What they care is that I have a solution to help them alleviate their suffering. And so when I'm talking to your audience and the young lady who's like, well, you know, Lenina, you've got all this going on, I say that you have a problem, you have the solution to a problem that someone has, and you can help them. And if you're a truly selfish person, keep it to yourself. But if you're not, and you want to be of service, and you want to love on other people and help them, write the same book. Just do it.
We went from Adidas to Nike, so we're going to just do it. You see, my girl, that's what I'm talking about, multifaceted. We did a manifest destiny. We went from New York to LA. You know, that's how we do it on the author spotlight. So, Lenina, it's been a privilege and honor to have you on. Also, we got some other things too that I'll catch up with you and get your information from our program coordinators or whatnot, because I got some things that I want to get you on some panel discussions and some webinars as well, because they just got a little taste of what you had to offer, but I think it's excellent though. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Remember that this is the year for your new book. Until next time, be blessed and be great.